Hey, come see us on tour. I'll be in Davenport, Iowa, Las Vegas, Nevada, Chicago, Illinois, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. So this Twitter handle called Empower Oversight. It's the accountability and public integrity through the power of information. DefendWhistleblowers.com. Tristan Levitt is the president. They tweeted this out. They tweeted this thing out. Here is one of the interview outlines that the FBI Security Division used to question our client's co-workers about his political opinions. So the FBI is trying to get rid of everybody in the FBI who they don't like, meaning they think has the wrong thoughts in their heads. Like they might support Donald Trump. They might have inside information about January 6th and know it was a setup. And they might have questions about the vaccine. They weren't asking they're asking their coworkers. You want to see it? So here it says, this is an administration investigation regarding an allegation that this person, they block out, engaged in conduct that calls into question his ability to maintain a top secret security clearance pursuant to the national security, blah, blah, blah. You are being asked to provide information as a fact witness as part of an investigation conducted by the Security Division. You have a duty to reply to these questions posed to you during this interview. Should you refuse to answer or fail to reply fully and truthfully, action against your security clearance may be undertaken and you may be referred to the Inspection Division for possible disciplinary action.
Yeah, this is the Civil War at the top I'm talking about.
So they go, hey, how long have you known this person? In what capacity? How do you socialize? Have you ever heard this person vocalize support for Donald Trump?
By the way,
this is a question that the FBI is asking. Have you ever heard this other person you work with?
But somebody with security clearance. So think of that. That's somebody who knows stuff that we don't know. And they're like suspicious of the vaccine possibly.
Yes.
Or of the cases against Trump.
Yes.
So that's a good deal. That means like potentially someone who knows what they're up to.
That's right. That's exactly right, Kurt. Somebody who knows what they're up to. So here it is. That's from the FBI Security Division.
This is what they did in colleges, and
so they don't
jobs. It's the same thing everywhere. They did a purge of people that aren't part of the cabal.
So if you get rid of all the right wingers inside the FBI, how are they going to do all those supposed Nazi marches down Main Street with matching slacks? Or are those people that just identify as Nazis temporarily?
Yeah.
So you have to respect their personal choices. So here's another one. After inquiring, I'll read this to you. After inquiring whether the interviewed individual socialized with our client, the pre-printed interview outline then lists the following questions, among others, about our client's First Amendment protected activities. Did they vocalize support for the President Trump? Did they vocalize objection to COVID-19 vaccination? Did they vocalize intent to attend the January 6th protest?
Well, I did, but my superior officer told me to go undercover.
The outline with these questions was used in at least 3 interviews of FBI employees who worked with our client. So you thought it was dangerous having Trump supporters in the FBI. You don't think that these people doing this shit are more dangerous than Trump supporters?
But why would
they are? They're the ones who will protect their careers by checking off any fucking box that they are told to. They don't have their own thoughts anymore, and people like that become the most dangerous ones because somebody else tells them what to do, and they just do it.
Yeah, that's what MK Ultra was to design, and
yes.
We did it, and that's who gets promoted. It's not like magical. It's the most think of all the people you know who don't vocalize their objections at work, and they just go, "This is not happening. I just want to keep my head down and do my job." That's who they look for. That's what a sociopath is.
So what they're doing here, the FBI is purging Trump supporters and anyone against lockdowns. What does the FBI think they are? Hollywood? Come on. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. What do you think they are, the CIA?
This page shows that the FBI Security Division interrogated our client's co-workers about his views on the COVID-19 vaccine. Can you imagine this shit?
Yes.
I guess
happened to everybody. It's about time the FBI had to go through this bullshit everybody else had to go through. Every other job has this shit. Every college has this. Every school has it. Everybody knuckled under and acted like it was fine. And then you're supposed to focus on your hatred of Trump or whatever dumb thing they tell you to hate and act like this isn't worse. But it is worse, and everybody can see it now.
So they say, I write today to formally disclose to you on our client's behalf shocking documents in SECD's investigative file that evidence and abuse of authority and violation of our client's rights under the First Amendment. These documents appear to demonstrate SECD's political bias and abuse of the security clearance process to purge the FBI of employees who express disfavored political views or concerns about the COVID-19 vaccine requirements. Well, they can't give you a security clearance if you're going to blab about their plans to coup Donald Trump. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but he wasn't revealing any secrets. He was just revealing, I guess, or she, I don't know who this person is, but they were just possibly revealing feelings they had about stuff that I don't even know was related to their work.
The 3 pre-printed questions asked our client's fellow employees show that the FBI systematically compelled them to report on our client's personal political beliefs and views of the COVID-19 vaccine. The information compelled the FBI employees to disclose about our clients is completely irrelevant to any legitimate security risk determination, and reliance on it to revoke a security clearance obviously violates the First Amendment. Based on these documents, it is reasonable for our client to believe that the SECD has been doing this more broadly and many other cases in an effort to purge employees with disfavored views from the FBI. Well, that's exactly what they're doing. It means that well, here, let's watch this.
You broke some news overnight at Just the News. The FBI busted purging the Bureau of Trump supporters. Tell us about that.
Such an important story, and I suspect that this will be a snowball, that we will see announcement of an investigation in a couple.
So this is the guy who broke the story.
Days by the Justice Department Inspector General, the same one that unraveled Russia collusion 4 years ago. The FBI was reviewing a security clearance for a everyday worker who worked in a secure facility, and in the course of that, they decided to ask questions like, did this worker vocalize support for Donald Trump? Did they vocalize hesitancy for COVID-19? Did they attend a Second Amendment rally in Richmond, Virginia? All 3 of those are First Amendment protected decisions. People have free speech even when you join the FBI. None of those have any bearing on a security clearance. At least out of all the experts I've talked to, not a single one of them said, geez, a political preference is a basis for determining whether you get a security clearance. But in this case, that is what the FBI did. These documents are now public. The Empower Whistleblower Center, Empower Oversight Whistleblower Center, which gave us the IRS whistleblowers that changed the course of that Hunter Biden case we just talked about, and the FBI whistleblowers who alleged that there was shenanigans going on in the January 6th investigation, they represent this client as well. I am hearing from inside the FBI that there are other examples of Donald Trump litmus testing and other political ideological tests being done during these security clearances. I expect that to come out in the next few weeks. But just think about this. If the FBI was asking whether someone was a Joe Biden supporter or whether they vocalized support for abortion, the left would be up in arms. They would be nuts. They would be screaming and yelling. But because it's Donald Trump and because it's COVID-19 vaccines, the left thus far has been totally silent about the story we broke last night.
John Solomon, always on it. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here today. Right.
And so what this means is that the FBI is full of people willing to surrender their freedoms. Right. I'm an
ambitious woman, Jimmy. I want to advance my career.
And if they're willing to surrender their own freedoms, what do you think they're going to do to your freedoms?
You're not even a living being to them.
You're correct. Here's what Tucker says about this.
The most powerful law enforcement organization in the world, certainly in the free world, or what we've referred to for our lifetimes as the free world. So the nightmare scenario is that it becomes subverted into a secret police force, a Tauntaun Macoute accountable to politicians and used to punish the adversaries of the regime. That's the one thing you can't have.
It was started as that.
That's how, yeah. So Tucker, it's not.
It hasn't degraded.
It's not perverted. It's not perverted. It's verded. That's what the FBI started out as, and that's what it currently is.
Yeah, that's one thing you can count on in this crazy world. It's still a weird blackmail thing for perverts.
Or your country will no longer be a free country. Well, there's some evidence, unfortunately, that is happening, and the latest comes from an FBI whistleblower. And the documents that he's handed over to John Solomon of Just the News suggest that the FBI now has an internal political litmus test. In his case, in order to get a security clearance after 12 years working for the agency, the FBI checked whether he supported the Vaxx regime, Donald Trump, the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And after it was determined that he supported all of these things, which at least half the country does support, he was denied his security clearance. Again, this comes from documents newly unearthed that confirmed the FBI checked his loyalty before allowing him a security clearance. And when denied that, he was suspended indefinitely without pay. So the FBI has not provided any comment to John Solomon, who broke the story and got these documents. But Tristan Levitt, who's the president of the group Empower Oversight, is representing him in court and joins us right now with an overview of this case. Tristan, thank you very much for coming on. So,
my pleasure.
Is that a fair characterization? Or why don't instead you start at the beginning and tell us what you have uncovered and what this employee underwent at the FBI?
So what makes this a little bit different from your average FBI employee is that this employee, who has chosen to remain anonymous, did get swept up into the funnel of folks being investigated after January 6th. So the FBI cast a very wide net because of that. There was frankly some hysteria within the Bureau, almost McCarthyism, searching out anybody that had views with any tie, after searching out anybody who had any ties to events of that day, then examining their views. So this client particularly is someone who had decided on the day of January 6th to go down and hear President Trump's speech. After attending the rally, he walked down to the Capitol and stayed outside on the grounds. He never went inside the Capitol. He was never involved in any violence. He was never involved in any conflict. Eventually, the FBI became aware that he had been at the Capitol, which is ironic because the day after it, he self-reported his attendance. But that went, that didn't attract any notice within the FBI until a year later. And at that point, the hysteria was in full force. And so there were a number of FBI whistleblowers, several of whom we have represented, people like Steve Friend, Marcus Allen, Garrett O'Boyle, who were objecting in various ways to how the FBI was approaching its investigations of those related to January 6th. But this particular individual had his security clearance suspended, and that's when all of this hit. And so 1 year ago, I testified alongside three of those other whistleblowers, Steve Friend, Marcus Allen, Garrett O'Boyle, in front of the Weaponization Committee. And at the time, the FBI had just released information that they had all had their security clearances suspended, a couple of them revoked. And so as we started that hearing, Delegate Stacey Plaskett opened by saying, Chairman Jordan, you've invited these people here who are a threat to our national security. How dare you? And now, a year later, we've been able to pull back the curtain and see the FBI's documentation for why it did what it did with their clearances. And that's the context in which we've seen this sort of questioning going on, asking people if they ever supported President Trump. And mind you, it wasn't just that they asked these individuals. These were interviews by the Security Clearance Division of their fellow employees. So people who were compelled to answer, who had to either answer these questions from the Security Division or have their own security clearance called into question. And they were asked, did you ever socialize with these individuals? What was your association with them? And then asked these extremely intrusive questions. And so that's the context in which this very problematic set of questions came up. And what we are hearing is that this may be just the tip of the iceberg, that there were many, that certainly there have been allegations out there that once people got swept into that security funnel, that there was a purge of FBI employees that had conservative views or had skepticism of the vaccine or just hesitancy to receive it. And now in black and white, we've uncovered those documents because of our client's security appeal, where we've been able to see the basis on which his colleagues were questioned. And this is extremely problematic.
It was pretty clear from the beginning. I mean, there are different threads here, but on the Vaxx specifically, that the vaccine mandates were designed, and certainly their effect was, to winnow out people with high testosterone levels, independent thinking, commitment to liberty, common sense, out of positions in the federal government. And that would definitely include the military, but also at the agencies, including the FBI. So they found out this guy didn't take the vax, and that was one of the factors?
Yeah, it clearly was one of the factors. And it's ironic because this came 3 months after a court had put an injunction on the federal employee vaccine mandate. And so this was not even a live issue. Right. This was not a matter of you're currently required to and you're not. Months after that, they're asking his colleagues, did he ever express any hesitancy about the COVID-19 vaccine?
Hesitancy. Did he pause before allowing an injection? Okay.
Yes. And of course, the reverse of this, right? I think every American would agree. It would not be appropriate in the future for the FBI to ask employees, did they ever express any support for receiving an abortion? This idea that that's any of the FBI's business whatsoever is really, really outrageous.
Support for Donald Trump, support for the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, our founding document. So these are disqualifying positions?
Well, that's clearly seems to be the case behind the scenes. Now, again, keep in mind, this is not what was put into the security clearance suspension letter that our client received or that other whistleblowers we have represented received. It's not what went into their revocation letters. So it's only now, like I said, pulling back the curtain that we see that it's behind closed doors, right? So it's within this black box of secrecy. And it's really this secret process that has no oversight from the outside, generally no oversight from the Inspector General, no oversight from Congress. That's an environment that allowed this to flourish, because otherwise we never would have known about this had we not seen those backing documents. Because again, the proposals themselves didn't reference any of these things that we would consider illegitimate. They just talked about whether someone engaged in violence, whether they broke laws on January 6th. And the things that stretched beyond that into personal political views, or again, even feelings about one's own bodily autonomy, all of that was hidden in these documents. And now that we've ripped the mask off the FBI, again, we are certainly going to push the Inspector General to see whether this happened in other cases. And we strongly expect that they will find that it did.
So for those.
So there you have it. There's your here's your FBI that the Democrat voters now love ever since Donald Trump was elected. They're doing political litmus tests. They're violating people's First Amendments. Of course they are. They're not even working for the president. They work for for who else? For corporations. They're purging people against they're a criminal organization. Of course they are.
Do you know
and if they would at least solve a crime once in a while, I think I could overlook some of it. But they don't. The only crimes they solve are the ones they set up themselves.
So, the concept of the shadow government, which I didn't make up, that's a thing we actually have.
Yes.
And George W. Bush put the shadow government in charge when he was after that goat book he was reading. In case the president dies, we have a shadow government.
Right.
Continuance of government.
Right.
All those things are real things we've had for a long time that are established and not made up. All of a sudden, it's, what deep state? What is that? People say that. What even is a deep state?
I was talking to a comedian at the Comedy Magic Club on Saturday, and he had a hard time believing that Jeffrey Epstein was working with the CIA and the Mossad.
He's mostly with Israel.
He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, this is...
What do you think he was? A lone
what do you
wolf?
think? Yeah, you think
a lone wolf pervert?
He goes, well, why would they pick him? I don't know, maybe because he liked being a pedophile.
Why would they pick him? Wait, did he even understand the nature of anything with Jeffrey Epstein?
I
must not have.
I guess not.
For blackmail purposes.
It was shocking to me. I'm like, do you understand? This is how they got princes. They got presidents of the United States were on Epstein Island. They got.
You can't even get in a position of power until you go to Epstein.
That's right. They got everybody.
Oh, who was telling me? Somebody I know. It was so crazy. Their girlfriend.
So if somebody has an inexplicable support of Israel's genocide and says crazy things, maybe it has something to do with some blackmail.
Well, do people think anything other than blackmail gets things done?
Right?
Do you actually think that?
I mean, do you really think they set up Jeffrey Epstein so they couldn't blackmail everybody? They even got Chomsky. That's why Chomsky was saying all that crazy shit. I'm going to bet you any money why he was saying that crazy shit.
He better.
Well, he said that stuff about 9/11, that 9/11 happened exactly as the government said.
When did he start saying that?
I don't know, but he said that.
It was post-Epstein visit?
I don't know. But
that's a good point.
But they didn't start blackmailing people just with Epstein.
No.
Do you know what I mean? They've been doing that forever.
Hefner, the Playboy Mansion. Remember Hefner?
They've been doing it forever.
P. Diddy, who's a Fed the whole time, by the way.
Yeah.
Everybody who heard they had this house where you just fuck a lot and party, well, they put cameras there.
Yeah.
Then they invite the glitterati to show up. And then they film them, and then they have to do as they're told. Rob De Niro has to make a fool of himself with those two fake cops behind him.
Yes, those two fake cops.
And he's like,
liars.
They're going to carry me off it because I'll bet you they are. I'll bet you they are going to care. It's so insane that you're like, why would they care about Robert De Niro? Well, because they have some kind of blackmail on him.
That's right.
Probably connected to that ring that came up in the last segment we did about him.
Hey, come see us on tour. I'll be in Davenport, Iowa, Las Vegas, Nevada, Chicago, Illinois, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.